We are searching for summer. Any sign of any lengthy, dry, warm spells of weather across the UK? Plus, the European heat wave, or the Mediterranean heat wave. Is it finally coming to an end? We'll try and look at both of those subjects in some detail in this week's Met Office Deep Dive. Welcome along. My name's Alex Deakin. I'm a meteorologist here at Met Office HQ, and this is the Deep Dive, only on YouTube. Thank you for watching. Thank you for all your comments. Please do hit like and subscribe and share the love if you know another Met head who would be keen to learn more about the ongoing atmospheric conditions around the UK and beyond. Then do share the love. As I said, we love doing these Met Office deep dives, and we do love and really enjoy reading all of your comments. So thank you very much for all of those. Please do keep them coming in. Any suggestions of any topic that you'd like us to cover, also greatly welcomed. Okay, let's take a look at the UK weather. Now, before we start, because I read the comments, I know full well that lots and lots of people are quite enjoying this July. Many people do not want heat or strong sunshine, but equally quite a lot of people do. And after what was a record-breaking June, quite a few people have been a little disappointed with July so far and are keen for a return to some more settled weather. So that's what we'll go in search for. In short, those people are going to be disappointed because there isn't really any sign, certainly for the rest of this week, of the weather calming down. But at least it's got a little drier than it was at the weekend. Let's rewind this satellite image because this was a doozy of an area of low pressure that came in and brought a lot of wet weather. It was a write-off in Devon on Saturday. And of course, under this line of cloud across northern England, Sunday wasn't much better. Put paid to the cricket at Old Trafford, of course. Okay, let's see where we are now. If we just pause it and forward that, if I try not to unplug my microphone. This is where we are now on Tuesday, time of recording. A bit of a messy one across the UK. Lumpy looking cloud. Let's put the radar on. Quite a few showers. It's another speckly rash of a day across a good chunk of the UK. But down towards the southwest, clearer skies and not so many showers, so something a little bit drier here. But elsewhere, a case of dodging those downpours, which are pretty heavy across parts of northeast England in particular at the moment. So some fairly heavy showers around here. But the weather's going to calm down a little bit as we run through the next few hours or so. I think we'll see things turning a little bit drier. But out west, let's turn the radar off. Let's zoom out because there is more cloud gathering out here, and that is going to mix things up as we head towards the weekend once more. That is an area of low pressure, as you might imagine, this one out here. And that's heading towards us. So at the moment, we're kind of between two lows. The one that brought the wet weather over the weekend, that's cleared away. We're in this kind of space, kind of a coll between high pressure and low pressure, but still the air is cool and unstable, so that's why we are seeing a fair few showers. But this low pressure is heading our way. If we fast forward, look at that, bringing wet and quite blustery weather as we go through Wednesday night and into Thursday. And then those weather fronts move through, but this low kind of has a double swipe at us. It kind of reinvigorates and then pushes back across the UK. Friday there is a gap. Friday there is a kind of a break, if you like. One weather system clears away and it should look a little drier on Friday, although there'll still be a few showers around. But then this low comes in and dominates our weather as we go through Friday and is pretty much sitting across us again for the weekend. Now, it doesn't look quite as wet as last weekend's, but with a chart like that, with low pressure sitting across us, as you can imagine, there are going to be plenty of showers around, and bands of showers will be zipping across the country around that area of low pressure. So, yeah, no real sign, say, for the rest of this week of the weather settling down. It takes us pretty much to the end of July, doesn't it? Because that low, although will be edging away through the weekend, is still going to be providing some showers even on Sunday as well. So yes, staying pretty mixed through the rest of this week. But as I said, there will be windows of opportunity if you're stuck inside with the kids because it's school holidays. It's a question of getting the timings right. So keep up to date with the latest forecasts. Hit subscribe on the YouTube channel, and then you get the latest forecasts all the time, as well as these deep dives. Okay, I just want to bring it back actually, because that low, if we take it back to where we are kind of now, zoom out, the low here is actually quite interesting because if we put the satellite picture back on, it's actually consuming this which is quite interesting because this is Don. This is Hurricane Don. Let's bring it back to the start again. Pause it there. On Saturday, this little fella, let's zoom in. Doesn't look much, does it? But if you zoom in, you can see a nice little eye on that. That was actually a hurricane. Hurricane Don was a hurricane, not for very long, but on Saturday, way out in the Atlantic, so it didn't really affect anyone. But if we run through the course of the weekend, the last few days, you can see how that eye is still there as we go through Saturday night and into Sunday. We can track it, but it's kind of, as it's moved over cooler waters, it's kind of broken apart. And it's being now consumed by this bigger area of cloud up here, which becomes that area of low pressure, which controls our weather for the next few days. So that is interesting because, although obviously not a hurricane anymore because we've seen it breaking down, but if we look at this chart again, there's that low that's kind of consuming Don. Take the jet stream off and on and off and on again. Put the temperature, you can see actually quite a bit of warm air tucked up in that, and that's because Don brought some energy, brought some warmth up from the tropics with him. So that area of low pressure, even though it's being generated quite far north, is still going to contain some warmth and some moisture, hence why it could provide a fair bit of rain as we go through Wednesday night and into Thursday. Not expected to cause too many issues, but it will be quite a humid night, and that'll be a big difference that we notice as that low comes in. It will be quite humid after what will be a pretty chilly night tonight. Wednesday night into Thursday will be much more humid because of that tropical air kind of tied in with that low pressure system. Let's take a look at that actually. We can see some of those temperatures over the next few nights in particular. If we look at the temperatures, so these are the overnight temperatures, nighttime temperatures, somewhere just up there, what's that, over the course of Grampians. You can see them really dropping down there over the next couple of nights. Some chilly nights to come before we see a big spike. So tomorrow morning, temperatures in the low single figures there before jumping up. So quite a big jump there between the nighttime minima because of that air that's coming in. A chilly one tonight, and then it gets much warmer the following night. And further south as well, something similar. We'll see those temperatures jumping up as that warmer air comes in. So a couple of chilly nights before temperatures really start to rise later in the week. So yeah, that's an interesting feature, the fact that those temperatures will be rising by night. Speaking of temperatures, let's look a little further afield, shall we? Let's head back to, well, let's start with the jet stream because this is what's going on at the moment. The broader picture shows the jet stream is kind of in this position. Can you see that? Oh, let's take the pressure charts off. This is the jet stream. It's not particularly strong at the moment, but it's in this zone. It's still south shifted. It's still across sort of the south of the UK, but it is just driving south in here, in and across Europe, where of course it has been very hot, and this is going to bring about a change. It's still very hot in southern Italy at the moment, but as the jet stream dips southwards here, fast forward Wednesday, it's pushing further south now right across Italy and down towards Greece as well. And by Thursday, it has pushed right the way down towards Turkey. So that dip in the jet stream is generating something of a change to the temperatures across Europe, which will be good news, I suspect, for those people on holiday, because we are going to see a temperature dip in the next few days. Let's look at the temperatures, for example. Take the jet stream off, bring it back to here, the here and now. There's the heat across southern Italy, Greece, Turkey. It's already eased somewhat across Spain. Actually, temperatures dropped here through the course of the weekend. Still pretty hot the last couple of days, Sardinia and Corsica here, but they are already in the cooler air. Fast forward to Wednesday, you can see southern Italy joins in with the cooler air as well. And by the time we get to Thursday, most of Greece is cooler. And by Friday, that cooler air even pushing down across Cyprus. So we are seeing temperatures dropping because of that dip in the jet stream. Not generating much in terms of precipitation, but we will see the temperatures at least dropping both by day and by night. And let's take a look at a couple of examples of that. Let's do maximum temperatures, but not across the UK. Let's head south, where at the moment temperatures in southern Italy again today likely to be up towards 30 degrees Celsius, but look at that dropping off certainly over the next few days, back much closer to the average in the high 20s, low 30s. Let's head now to Greece, where we'll see those temperatures dropping off, but maybe a day later. So the peak in the heat across Greece is likely to be on Wednesday when the winds are lightest and again a lot of hot, strong sunshine. But we see a drop there as well. Again, back closer to average, high 20s, low 30s rather than mid 30s up to 40 degrees Celsius. Let's just take it a little bit further down. Where's Rhodes? It's here. So again, temperatures are going to be been a bit funny, get it over the land, up to maybe 40 Celsius in Rhodes there before again dropping off much closer to average. So yes, it is still hot for the next day or so in the Eastern Med, but we will see those temperatures dipping at least a little bit. But not really going to see any rainfall from that weather system. And as we see the change, we will also see the winds gusting up as well, which isn't going to help the wildfire situation here. But at least, as I say, the temperatures will be getting back closer to average. Still plenty of sunshine, so if you're off on a holiday across the Mediterranean in the next few weeks, we're not seeing big changes with the weather there. It's still staying generally sunny and hot, but not as hot, not the extremes of the heat, certainly not for as we head through the rest of this week into the weekend. Okay, so that's what's happening in Europe. Say temperatures are dipping off a little bit. We've talked about what's happening in the UK. The jet stream is still kind of pushing in and generating the low pressure systems that will be bringing outbreaks of rain. Let's take a closer look at that rainfall on Wednesday. Let's just rewind it because it will be a chilly start, as I mentioned. Let's pause it there and bring it forward a little bit. Will be a chilly start on Wednesday. We talked about those temperatures dropping off in rural areas, well down into single figures. That's not playing ball, is it? Tomorrow morning. So these are the temperatures in towns and cities, which is probably a little bit over the top, but certainly in rural areas, as we saw, we're going to see that dip down into single figures before they rise further by the time we get to Thursday. So just about comparison there, 15, 16 compared to 12 to 14 degrees Celsius. So that big jump in temperatures as we see that weather system coming in on Wednesday night and into Thursday. Now, for much of Wednesday, we talk about the rain coming in, and it will be coming in across Northern Ireland, Wales, southwest England. But for a good chunk of the UK, again, Wednesday will be a decent day, and actually it'll be quite a bit warmer than it has been as well. But by the time we get to Wednesday night, Thursday morning, that rain has moved in before it starts to pull away. Friday is a little bit drier, as I mentioned, between weather systems on Friday, just a few scattered showers, but then here comes the low pressure system, and here come the showers spiralling. You can see that low quite clearly there moving in. So bands of showers crossing the country, the breeze picking up on Saturday. Again, it won't rain all day. The showers will tend to zip through fairly smartly. But yeah, if you're after a fine and settled weekend, again, you're going to be disappointed. Not quite as wet as the one just gone, but again, far from settled. So are there any signs of the weather settling down a little bit? Are there any signs of any lengthy, dry and slightly warmer spells of weather? So far, July is running a little bit cooler than average by around about 0.4, 0.5 degrees Celsius. It is also quite a bit wetter than average as well, but there's still a week to go. So maybe in next week's deep dive, Aidan will look more in detail at the stats for July. But looking further ahead beyond that, any sign of a change into August? Well, there is a hint of a whiff of a change. Let's take a look at some charts. Now, if you were watching last week's deep dive, Aidan showed this and beautifully explained the pattern of the jet and why the weather's been stuck in a rut for most of July. So if you haven't seen that, check it out after this one. Last week's deep dive was all about the shape of the jet and showing these blobs and the number of blobs. Now, this is to paint the picture, we're looking down on the North Pole. So the North Pole is here, and this is taking a slice through the atmosphere at 18,000 feet, about 5.5 kilometers up. And this is showing the pressure anomalies, so the difference from normal. And basically, blue means where pressure is lower than usual, and orange means pressure is higher than average. Now, if you take a ring around these mid-latitudes where we are, you can see here there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blue blobs and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 orange blobs. And that is because the jet stream is in this waving, looping pattern that's generating these kind of 5 areas of low pressure, 5 areas of high pressure. And because it's in that looping pattern, it's not really shifting very much. it's been in that position for most of July, allowing the high pressure to build for a number of weeks, and that is what generates the extreme heat that we have seen across, where are we, North America, south of North America, the Mediterranean, and across China. Those areas. But the weather patterns have been stuck like this for a while. If we fast forward and take a look at next week, there is a subtle shift. Count the blobs now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Blue blobs. 1, 2, 3, 4. Orange blobs. So we have finally started to shift that weather pattern. It's not as many loops. We've gone from a 5-wave pattern to a 4-wave pattern. Notice, however, the UK is still in the blue, so still low pressure likely to dominate. So we're not suggesting that this is going to be a big shift and we're going to start to see lots of hot and sunny weather. Far from it. Next week still looks pretty unsettled because we're in the blue zone, if you like. But we have seen that bigger pattern finally start to break down and finally start to shift, which means it just opens the door for our weather patterns to start to change, perhaps as we head into August. Let's put those two next to each other because it might be a little bit easier to see if you put. So this is the current pattern with the 5 blobs, and this is what we're expecting through next week with the 4 blobs and the pattern that's starting to weaken. Actually, sorry, it's not next week. It's the week after, isn't it? It's the 31st it's next week, Monday the 31st to the 7th of August. That's that pattern there. And you can see when you compare the two, it's just not as tight. And because you're sort of stretching the jet stream out a little bit, it just gives it more flexibility. When the jet stream is really wavy, really loopy like that, it's more rigid, it's harder for it to shift. So you're just kind of stretching it out a little bit, and that gives the chance for more progression and more changes in the weather patterns. Again, Aidan explained that probably much better than I did in last week's one. And this is the week after. And again, you've still got that pattern. And notice the UK is here still under the blue blob, but again, it's just a bit more stretched out. You've got 4 areas rather than 5, so it just gives that more flexibility in the jet stream, perhaps hinting that we could start to see a little bit more of a shift. Aidan also showed this last week, the Hovmoller, and this is now starting to show that as well. So this is again a slice through the atmosphere at 5.5 kilometers up. Orange is high pressure, and we're going back in time now here on the y-axis, and you can see these lines, these columns. That's basically where the high pressure has been dominating, sitting, keeping the weather stable, hence why the temperature's been building here in North America. Here actually out in the Atlantic, this is the Mediterranean. So we're here in this green zone here. But again, we're now going forward. If you go down this line here, we're going forward in time. And instead of seeing these strong orange columns, it's subtle, but we're getting kind of a diagonal line going across, which suggests this diagonal here. You can just about make out that pattern there. Instead of going up and down, we're now going, and that again, just suggesting that the weather patterns are starting to shift. That jet stream is more likely to move around. It's not suggesting that we're getting the high pressure at all as we head into the first part of August, but it is suggesting that jet stream is starting to shift. And so we could start to see those changes in the jet stream. Another way of looking at that is the probabilistic pressure trend. If we look at many models, run them many times, again, we show this on the 10-day trend. These are the previous computer model runs. These are the dates going forward, so the 1st of August is there. A lot of blue on the chart for the next weeks, again suggesting that low pressure is going to dominate for most of this week into the start of next week. But look at that. There are signs there as we head into August, albeit weak signs. That's not a strong red, that is definitely pink, but signs nonetheless that higher pressure is likely to be closer to the UK. So hint of a suggestion that we could start to see the weather at least turning a bit drier. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to last for any length of time. It doesn't necessarily suggest much warmth, but it does suggest perhaps that we could see something a little, well, maybe less wet is the best way to describe it. So yes, these are all longer term projections. As always with longer term projections, they come with caveats. They come with uncertainty, but it's something we'll be keeping a close eye on, obviously. Let us know in the comments. As I said, I read all the comments from last week and the week before. Lots of people do enjoy the cooler weather, don't necessarily enjoy the heat. So let us know in the comments, what is your perfect temperature for summer? Did you love June and hate July, or vice versa? Would you much rather it be cooler? I suggest, I know for one, that I quite like it somewhere in between. But, you know, let us know in the comments, what is your ideal summer temperature? One more thing before we go and before we finish, don't forget to watch the 10-day trend tomorrow as well. We'll have more on that, some more details on next week's weather. If you're off with the kids, I'll have more on that in tomorrow's 10-day trend. But also, I thought I'd set you a little bit of homework. There you go, for the summer holidays. Just a couple of things to read about that heat across the Mediterranean. There's been a study published today suggesting that the heat in Europe and across North America and across China so far this summer wouldn't have happened, or is virtually impossible to have happened without human-induced climate change. And another study that I'd like you to read from Professor Richard Betts about wildfires and how our changing climate is increasing the chance of wildfires. And this is the one of the key points from that study. The frequency and severity of fire weather has increased in recent decades and is projected to escalate with each added increment of warming. So there's a really good paper there that Professor Richard Betts wrote last week. He works here in the Met Office, all about wildfires. If you follow him on Twitter, you can find a link to that. And also he retweeted the link to that attribution study as well. So go and check those out. There you go, a bit of homework for you to do. Let me know in the comments if you want more homework, or if you'd like us to cover any other subject on the Met Office Deep Dive. As I say, we do read your comments and we do appreciate them very much, so do keep them coming. If you haven't hit the thumbs up, please do so. Is that some kind of yay? Anyway, yeah, do hit the thumbs up, do hit the like button, and do hit the subscribe button. And I think I'll probably shut up now. Join Aidan for next week's Deep Dive next Tuesday.